The business are presented by 317 Awards. Custom awards and trophies for all types of events and occasions. Plaques, custom trophies, custom laser engraving, custom laser cutting, custom vinyl work, banners, and more. It's 317 Awards. When you've got an award to give, you might as well give it with pride and get it from the best in the business. Check out 317 Awards. Welcome in, friends. It is another Monday. It is actually Monday, August the 19th, 2024, and it is time for hashtag Real Race Talk. We do it again. The Revved Up Sports Show, the Revved Up Livecast, coming off of a big weekend of action. And we've got the winners slated to join us at 6:45. It'll be Mark Underwood, winner of the King of the Hill. And then we've got Kason Apps, Junior Limited National winner. On a blazing hot day, Bobby. I was out today just a little bit ago. I had to get in the car and go do some stuff. 109 in my suburban area. The heat is real, brother. The heat is real. How you doing, man?
It's hot, dude. I just go outside to get trash cans, and it was hot enough out there just walking down the driveway, picking up the trash cans and bringing them back into the garage. So it's definitely hot. It's supposed to be hotter tomorrow, but yeah, it'll be an interesting day tomorrow. I got to fight Austin Independent School District traffic coming into the capital city tomorrow. So that'll make for a fun drive in the morning.
Yeah, school is back in. So you guys watch what you're doing out there. I know if you're running late trying to get places, it gets a little frustrating. Sometimes you hit that school zone, and it definitely will try the patience a little bit. I was out this morning as well. And between that and just so in my neighborhood, so in the neighborhood I live in, it's an older neighborhood, but now there are brand new neighborhoods that way and brand new neighborhoods that way and that way. So what was once a small road for you know which road I'm talking about, right there by the Walgreens. So that one right there, that used to be just very easy to navigate. And now, Bobby, I shit you not, it is, I mean, all the time. We need lights. We need traffic lights there. It's just a mess, man. Everything's growing really, really fast around here, really fast.
No, it's the Central Texas boom. For all those moving from California, try Oklahoma. It's a great place too, instead of Texas. But yeah, it's fastest growing area for a long, long time. Now they just need to make the roads catch up to it. That would be a great thing in and around Austin if they had nice enough roads to handle all the influx of new neighbors here. But definitely, be like San Antonio and Houston and Dallas, just have roads continuously under construction. But they just have them under construction. They don't seem to be building any extra ones.
That's the whole thing. I mean, they work on the old ones, and it's like, I mean, when they talk about fixing 35 through Austin, I'm like, how are you going to fix it? I mean, you can't. I mean, you look on both sides, you look east and west on I-35 going through Austin, and everything is blown up so much. I mean, you can't. I mean, you're going to knock down a skyscraper to fix the highway? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. Right quick before on that topic, it's actually funny that we went that way. When we talk about fast-growing communities, one of them is Bernie, Texas. We've got a lot of racers from out there in the Bernie area. I know with DCRST, they've got several guys out there in Bernie. Checking out Bernie right now in the Little League World Series as they are playing Florida at the moment, and they're tied up at 1-1. That's really fun to watch. It's like you turn that on, and it's like, okay, that's some semblance of regular sports right there. It's like let the kids get out there, but I mean, I can only imagine what it has cost these two teams to get to the Little League World Series, because baseball never stops. I mean, all these sports, they never stop. Youth sports are radically different than what they used to be.
No, it's crazy. And the cost of youth sports now is amazing. You think like a select baseball team and stuff like that, and it's just volleyball and all that stuff. We heard some of the racers talk about how much money it costs. It costs almost as much for the kiddos to do select volleyball and tournament volleyball as it does to buy race car tires. So it's I guess that's why we had the decline of some of our local racers as their kids got older, got interested in something other than racing. They had to quit buying race car parts and start buying volleyball, baseballs, and basketballs.
There was one kid from Bernie, and they ask him, when they go through the starting lineup, they let them, they introduce themselves, and they say who they're. I don't know how they pick it, but it's like favorite athlete, whatever they want to be when they get older, all these different things. And I mean, the answers are all pretty much what you expect these days. They're talking about, favorite teams, Houston Astros, LA Dodgers, LA Lakers. I mean, all these different things. And they're rolling through there. What do you want to be? And this one kid from Bernie, it's like halfway through the lineup. And that one kid says, I want to grow up and be an architect. I'm like, okay, that's old school right there. And you know what? That's a real good living. That's a real good living to be an architect.
But your buddy Ace was in the Little League World Series for Mooresville or Welcome one time when he was a youngster.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you met, dude. You are all over the segues today. So with Ace, let's talk about that, and we'll get back to the short track stuff coming up here in just a little bit. But so we saw the ruling come down, and boy, I'm glad NASCAR wasn't in a hurry. I'm glad that I wasn't on life support or anything, waiting for that to come down. I knew they were going to sit there and dick the dog until they finally figured that out. But so your thoughts on that? Austin Dillon, he keeps the win. He's out of the playoffs. Lagana, he got the fine, which he paid it in race today. Kind of your thoughts on that, the way that all shook out.
Well, I thought the Logano fine was going to end up being a little bit more than $50K, just because they're trying to set that precedent and stuff not to do on pit road. I thought that'd be closer to 100. Thought there'd be a 6-figure fine, maybe even a race suspension for doing it. So I think he's okay paying a $50,000 fine comparatively to some of the stuff we heard might have happened to him. Mm-hmm. And also, listening to Elton Sawyer on our friends over at SiriusXM NASCAR radio, they said that they just couldn't find a way in the rule book to take away the win from you can disqualify somebody from a competition side, right? Like in a legal part, legal stuff like that, but they don't have a way to disqualify somebody from a legal what's the word? I just lost it. Procedural DQ, right? So you could just, the closest thing they have is doing those the unencumbered finish, and that's what they did. Some kind of code of conduct thing for playoffs, or gentleman's code of ethics or something like that. You just don't go in and wipe somebody out for 4 or 5 car lengths behind. So we've seen it done with the Cars Tour. They do it right away. We've seen it done at the Derby. They do it right away. So I don't know why it took NASCAR 4 days to do it. So.
Well, and I still go back to, I think that was a thing where they had to call Penske. They had to call Childress. They had to do all these different things. And obviously their Childress RCR is appealing this verdict, this ruling.
Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. It's coming up. Middle of the week. But I still go back to, and I guess the logic in this is that I still think they, based on the precedent that was set, and that's what I go back to with any ruling that I see. I had a guy that messaged me the other day, and he's like, "What are you, a fucking lawyer?" I'm like, "No, I'm just telling you everything that I say, that I read, or if I'm going to tell you something, I'm basing it on a precedent that I've seen or a trend or whatever the case is." You parked a guy for hooking somebody, and as much as I think the SMT data and all these different things where that's a little overkill and all this, I don't think you need it. It factors in. It was pretty obvious what happened. But I can only guess that what they were thinking right there is, okay, if we take away the playoff eligibility, that's as much of a sting. We're going to let him keep the win, but we're going to take him out of the playoff. So I guess that's their balance. I guess that's their didn't want to hurt his feelings too bad thing. I guess to maybe he could win today. Because, I mean, Daytona. I mean, he's going to have a hell of a chance at Daytona. So he could still go get that spot.
Well, maybe, but if you think about it, to take him out of the playoffs, that's like a $2 million fine.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I mean, that's a minimum of $1 million, if not, that's a minimum of $1 million payout from the sanctioning body to make the playoffs. And then you got to figure there's a minimum of, there's probably at least 6, if not 7 figures involved on sponsor stuff for being able to make the playoffs. So that's about a $2 million fine right there. $1.5 million, $2 million fine. That kind of cash, that hurts the pocketbook pretty big even for an organization the size of Richard Childress.
Yeah, it does. Man, those cars have gotten good the last couple of weeks. What the hell's going on over there?
I guess they found something.
That Olympic break was really good for them. Kyle Busch today, it looked like he might be in a good spot there to maybe punch a ticket and get himself in. It is Tyler Reddick that wins today. We can dig into that a little later. But this kind of goes into with NASCAR right there. I mean, there's not a lot of consistency. And we see this all the time on the short track racing side. And this is where, when we talk about with short track racing, I mean, this is more, Bobby, where you get the personal aspect to it, the judgment call thing, the judgment call. And I think it really is the thing like you talked about right there. I mean, if you get in trouble in the short tracks, you're going to know right away. I mean, there's not a lot of wait. I mean, I've seen where tires get sent off for readings and parts get sent off for these different things. But I think that's a great difference here in short track racing, to where the human aspect more is where you can, with a judgment call. And that's what I thought about as this thing was going on with the NASCAR thing. It's like, imagine if they had officials out there that made the call. We'd still be trying to figure out what happened. I mean, because it was going to be, I saw it this way, I saw the second crash this way. And that's where it's like, man, you would think with all the resources, it would be a little easier. But the inconsistencies are horrible with everything that you see, right? It's wide open. It's really wide open.
Well, and I think they just leave too much to interpretation, right? I mean, as far as the sanctioning body goes, you and I have both dealt with it before, from a local short track aspect. When you make the decision, you make the decision. It's not one of those. I mean, I guess that NASCAR still has to worry about millions of dollars of sponsorships, and they talk to PR people and all that stuff. But I mean, in realistic terms, it should not have taken till Wednesday. They should have nipped that in the bud Sunday night, early Monday morning. To make sure that didn't happen, because we talked about that way too much into Wednesday and even Thursday before we started talking about the chances of rain affecting Michigan. Although I sent you the screenshots at the beginning of the week, said we ain't going to race on Sunday, and lo and behold, it turns out like I was right. So I just didn't take I mean, I'm no meteorologist genius by no means, but I know how to read a weather report. So
that's right. Inevitable right there, what was going to happen. We can dig back into that towards the end of the show, talk a little bit more, maybe talk about what happened today. Lots of race results to go into tonight throughout the region here in Texas, but obviously the big one, I mean, the one that was on everybody's calendar and the one that stole the headlines, as it always does, $10,000 to win 113 factory stocks in the pits over at Boot Hill Speedway. And as the tradition continues, I didn't even tell him this. He may know this, but it's like since this show has been on the air since 2017, 16, how long has this thing been on?
8 or 9 years. Yeah.
A long damn time. The King of the Hill has always made an appearance on the Revved Up Sports Show on the Revved Up Livecast. And here is the latest one. The new King of the Hill joins us, checking in from Louisiana. It is our man, Mark Underwood. My man. How you doing? Has it wore off yet, my friend?
No, it hadn't. I think it'd take a while for it to wear off.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Bobby. Sorry.
So, Mark, talk about that race, dude. Obviously, it's got $10,000 to win, but preparation-wise, I mean, is it just double checking every nut and bolt? Is it just trying to just treat it like a normal race? I mean, when you got 113 cars in the pits and you have to make that A main with 24 cars, it's like you gotta feel a sense of accomplishment at that point. But how much extra preparation do you do for a race of that magnitude?
Yeah, we do pretty good maintenance on our program anyway, but over that period of last week, we did do extra and made sure everything was 100%. And then after we made the feature on Friday night, after locking in on the top 4, we did it again on Saturday. So we double checked everything a couple of times.
Mark, how much of talking about locking yourself in? I mean, when you're able to do that on Friday, how much of a relief is that? I mean, for you, because I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, for a lot of folks, for most folks, if you get in the show, that's a win, much less winning it like you just did. But once you lock in, that's got to be a little bit to where it's like, okay, we can kind of calm down for just a little bit.
Yeah, it was huge. I was able to just focus on the feature. I got my game plan on the tires and everything that I wanted to, and double check everything like we had time to do. So it was huge. It took a lot of pressure off and a lot of stress off. So it was really big.
Absolutely.
So, Mark, talk about that. The end of that race obviously had a couple of cautions there. As the leader, we've all been there. You don't want to see the cautions with a couple of laps to go. Johnny's right behind you. When you get a chance to go single file, was that in your mind? Was like, okay, we're single file. He's not going to get right beside me. talk about that last couple of restarts when you had a couple of those under 10 to go kind of restart deals right there.
Yeah. What? Yeah, it was big on the single file. And I had that big screen at the other end of the straightaway. I kept peeking at a little bit, so I knew I had a couple of car links there on Torres. But early on in the race, he was beside me for a while. But I knew the track had kind of rubbered down a little bit, so I knew as long as I kept running my same line I've been running, I wasn't gonna get past unless I got moved out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And how hard is
And
that part? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was able to take off on the start so well. I was taking off early and getting a good run off the corner. I knew that was going to benefit me and not them, so that's why I kept doing it that way.
How hard is that, Mark? Because like you said, I mean, you're not going to get past unless you get taken out. And it's like you're kind of one of those things, you're riding, you really don't know where they are. I mean, the big O screen did help. But, man, that's got to be sometimes a helpless freaking feeling when it's like, shit, am I going to feel a nudge? Am I going to get turned, man? That's got to be a sick feeling sometimes.
It is, but my thing when I get out front is I don't worry about what's behind me. So I try to, you don't want to overcharge the turn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's big in a factory stock. You can overcharge it and then you can't get off the corner and then they're going to pass you. But you don't want to back it down too much and then you'll get tight or whatever. But you want to stay calm and just not overdrive the car. Just keep doing what you're doing. More than likely, they ain't gonna get to you. I knew I was pretty quick, so I felt confident in just keep doing what I'm doing.
Love it.
So, Mark, a couple of years ago, I talked to you guys down at Texana there in Edna, Texas, for the clash that we had, and it said that you guys, I was shocked that you guys drove all the way from Ruston all the way to little old Edna, Texas, and I said, how did you guys get this on your radar? And y'all were like, we have a spreadsheet, and we marked down every race that's got to at least 4 zeros in it, or 3 to 4 0 digits in it to come and race. Do you guys still have that matrix? Or are you guys still money chasing and big race chasing? How do you guys still determine your schedule? Is that still the same way you do it?
Yeah, so especially in the factory stock, we don't usually, well, in the crate also, but we don't leave the shop unless it's 1,500 or more usually. We did race last weekend for 800 for the Darty Smith Memorial, but we had got a new motor, so we was trying to get a good feel for it coming up for the King of the Hill. But yeah, Lou, the guy I drive for, Lou Lyles, he likes to chase money and he don't like to leave for, little or nothing. So and I understand that. So yeah, we try to catch all the big races we can as long as they're reasonable. And we just like chasing the money and running with the best.
Yeah. So man, speaking of that, I mean, looking at, the wins at Super B and Sabine, and you won in the crate there at Boot Hill. I mean, how great this is the biggest win of your career, I would say. And I say that because we've asked folks and it's like, well, actually, but man, this is one of the most prestigious ones you're going to find.
Yes, it is. Once a year, and then you got 113 other drivers out there trying to win it, and it's just, yeah, it's unreal being able to do that. In my opinion, you got Whitehead and Neil Kemp that's won it multiple times, and for them to do that is crazy.
Yeah.
So, Mario, one thing we love about racers is that racers will race, they'll spend $25,000 to win $500 sometimes, right? The one thing we know about the King of the Hill, that trophy's cool and the memories last forever. Talk about post-race tech. How many boxes did they bring your car back in this time? I know they take down motors and transmissions and tear those cars apart. So how many boxes is your car in right now?
Yeah, it's in rough shape right now. We had to take the rear end out of it, the front end completely off of it, and tore the head off, one side. And then we had to put it all back together to be able to load it up. So it's in pretty rough shape, but a few weeks we'll have it back ready to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in the interim, so what do you have with the crate? What's on tap with the late model?
So we're going to Super B this weekend. We run the Gulf South crate series. I'm leading the points in it right now. So they're at Chatham this weekend, and then I think Manny in a few weeks or so. That's our focus for now until we get another factory stock race going, a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Smart, talk about that racing up there in Louisiana by where you are. I think it's kind of an untapped market. Raceon's done a good job tapping into Arklatex and Boot Hill and Sabine and some of those other racetracks up in that general vicinity, Louisiana. But it seems like that kind of upper Louisiana, as we joke, the top of the boot, the top of Mississippi, kind of right in there. There's some really good underrated racing right there. Talk about the state of the racing aspect in that region over there.
Yeah, so Boot Hill and Arklatex bring some of the best racers around, I believe, because you got people coming from Texas and a lot of good drivers in Louisiana that come to race there. Super B's kind of out of the way, but you got really good racers there too. So I think, and I say that as I think all the local tracks that they all have their good drivers. I just think Boot Hill's got the best drivers that come there, in my opinion.
It really seems like it. I mean, it really does seem like it. So, Mark, with the factory stocks, I mean, your thoughts, because we've talked on this show a lot of times. I mean, things are ever changing here. I mean, there's tire stuff, and so forth. Kind of as we get towards the end of this season and start embarking into next year, kind of your thoughts on just the class as a whole. I mean, because it's evolving, it's growing. That's the whole thing. A lot of classes, when changes happen, they start falling off. It's like changes happen in a factory stock, and hell, they get more. So, kind of your thought on all of that.
Yeah, I wish they would leave it alone, but like you said, they went to change the tires last year, and it didn't seem to fall off much. And then they went back to grooving the slicks this year, or this year or last year. But I think that's a good deal there. A little bit more work. I hate having to groove those things from scratch, but I think it's a good deal that they got going. I wish they would change maybe some rocker arm rules or something to make it more durable instead of the stock stuff. But I like it. I like where it's at.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's one thing about the factory stock. We try to explain that to the people in like Georgia and North Carolina and all of that. They're like, "What's a factory stock?" I was like, "Well, it's factory in a name, and it's got a factory frame. But yeah, other than that, it has a factory looking body. But sometimes it gets hard to explain that factory stock to people that don't know. But like Rodney said, it's just crazy how much that class has grown over the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, when guys are spending mid $30,000 on race cars for that class. I mean, granted, you got the big money races, 10,000, 5,000, 15 here and there. As far as the class goes, is it reached that point of critical mass where it's not going to get any bigger, but it's not going to get any smaller, where everybody's basically content running with what they got?
You mean far as advancing their, like going
No,
to a
just
different
the
class,
class, just
or
the
like,
class itself, right? Because everybody seemed to flock to it. You had guys that used to run big mods flocking to it, guys moving over from modifieds, late models, all that stuff coming to the big money shows and running factory stocks just because that's where all the money was at. Is it too big now, or is it just about right still?
oh no, I think it's just about right. I think we got the 30,000 coming up
Yeah,
next year. It may get even bigger. You may even get more guys coming into it
yeah,
for that, for
yeah.
sure.
That's for sure. Mark, kind of talk about last couple of ones here, and we'll cut you loose. Talk about the 50 lap part. I mean, for a factory stock, I mean, that right there in and of itself, getting into the show is one thing, like we talked about. 113 of the best factory stock drivers in the country converging there at Boot Hill. You got to get in. You got to get through all the alphabet soup and B mains and all these different things. Then you get to the feature race, and shit, 50 laps. That little bit different than a regular Saturday night show, even a big show, even a big money show. That's quite the difference right there.
Yeah, the factory stock is one of the hottest cars I've ever driven in. They
Yeah.
are really hot in there. But it didn't seem like it just took forever for me though. Like it was kind of normal to me. It wasn't that bad. It's just hot in there, but I was just staying relaxed, and I really didn't want it to end, to be honest with you. I was
Yeah,
having fun.
great, man.
So, how helpful was that screen? You mentioned you got a chance to look at it. They were mentioning it on the broadcast that a lot of guys were able to just kind of where it was at was kind of good going off into turn one. You kind of glance up the top of the hill, and turn two and be able to judge and see how close everybody is. Like was it that beneficial, or are you too busy to look at it, or talk about that big old screen over there?
Yeah, most of the time I was too busy, but I did glance at it a couple times and almost missed the corner there. Just that split second just throws you off a little bit, So I tried not to look at it much, but I did glance at it a couple times, and I had my crew over there kind of telling me, that I had a little bit of a gap also. So
Yeah.
I didn't really look at it a whole lot, but I did glance at it a couple times. I didn't want it to mess me up too bad.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I got to ask you, man. So we're down in South Texas is where we are, and I mean, thoughts on Johnny Torres? I mean, you mentioned him. I mean, that dude. A lot of times you don't get guys from way down here, and he's further down than we are. Dude had a hell of a week, didn't he? It's pretty good to see him. Your runner up right there.
Yeah, I think he usually kind of struggles up here, but I'm glad he did well, and I know he wins a lot over there in Texas. I don't know how many wins he's got this year, but I'm always seeing pictures of him on Facebook where he's winning, and he's a great racer.
And a damn good promoter. He promotes himself.
Yeah.
Really well.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. So the 10,000, what happens to it? Right back at to put that thing together, I can only assume.
Yeah, it goes to the car owner. Yep. I race for him, and I'd rather just keep racing and us keep making our program better. That's what I want to happen, and that's what he wants too. So
Yep.
We'll put it back to whatever we need and keep on going.
All right, absolutely. Congratulations, man. You are the 10th, and you are on a great list with some guys that you read off right there. Congratulations, sir. You are the king of the hill, and thank you for joining us, my friend.
Yes, thank y'all for having me.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you.
You bet. There he goes, Mark Underwood Jr. Mark Underwood. Damn, looking good on that list. That's good. I did go back and rewatch it on Sunday. Damn good race up there, man.
Yeah, really good race. We were watching it in the pits because we had it on in the media center. Jared and I were watching the B main, and then we started watching the start of the big race of the King of the Hill. And then I took it over there. It was me, and well, you were right there with Terry. We were watching it over there a little bit, and then I took it over to Max and them. And there's like 6 or 7 of us sitting on the ground over there, watching my little tablet in the pits over there while they were trying to do last minute little putting up on the cars. So it was kind of fun seeing that many people. Racers are going to be racers. They're going to watch an interesting race, and sure enough, that was a hell of a race. Lots of. It was a damn good race. Mid-pack racing was exceptional in that. But the crazy part is you could keep your eye on the top 5 and be able to see what's going on. But man, Dalton Faulkner on that 3rd, 4th lane up at the top. I don't know if he could get any higher, but he had to be hot under the collar because he was making hay inside, outside, all the way through.
I got to tell you, going back and watching that and looking at the one thing, the crazy shit that I look for, looking at the racetrack, how glossy and shiny it was to sit there and watch them, in that feature race and watching them use the racetrack like that. That kind of was my thought is it's like, I've never claimed to be a dirt track racer and never will because I don't drive enough. But it's one of those things where now that is the racetrack that I would love to be on, especially in one of those cars where it's like, God bless America. That just looked like, and watching, like you're saying, watching some of the moves that they were making in the middle of the pack and all that, it's like the Lone Star 600. I think folks are really realizing and these big shows down here, including Louisiana, folks are really realizing there's some really good stuff down here in the southern part. You don't have to go to the coast. That's kind of going out towards the coast, but I think folks are really realizing that there are some really staple events, and that sure as hell. 113 cars, Bobby. That's a lot of damn cars. That's a lot of and that's normal. That's normal, but it's 10K on the line.
Yeah, that big money race, the $30,000 to win one is next year. There's no telling how many cars are going to come out of the woodwork for that.
Yeah. Yep. Let's check in like we talk about on every post that we do here. And again, Monday 6:30 is our live cast. And we are totally live. There's nothing taped, anything. We may get a taped interview very rarely. I don't think we've ever done a taped interview, but you may get that from time to time if we absolutely have to do it at some point. But you'll always know that it's not live. And one of the reasons we do it live is to check in with all of the folks that are hitting the chat right there. If you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube. You can't do it on Twitter, but you can do it on all these different platforms. Miss Martha, ready to go. When it comes to folks that are fired up for Texana Raceway Park, she's on her way for about the 4th time I've seen on a post from TRP.
Yeah, she's ready to roll. She's one of the diehards down there. She's ready to rock and roll. She's one of a kind down there at Texana. So they announced today dollar hot dogs coming back at September 7th. So
and I think sodas too.
Yeah, so it's they're gearing up for some good stuff. Hoping for a great event down there. Even though I'm not going to be there on the 7th, that track needs a really good shot in the arm. Needs some good stuff to happen to it. So
yeah,
it's a great facility. They got great people, great fans, and great racers. So they just need a little bit of luck with the weather and just a little bit of racing favor to come and do some good things there on September 7th and October 5th.
I think that's going to be a really big. I think that's really going to be a big, hobby stock, or what do we call them now?
Pure stocks.
Pure stock. It's going to be a big pure stock night with the money on the line right there, and of course, Dwarf Car Racing Series of Texas. Hopefully, they'll bring a big field in. You got the Powder Puff Invitation or Powder Puff Spectacular that's going to be going on there as well. So, really big night there on September 7th. If you can get yourself out there. Our man was on the program about a month and a half ago. Doug Rollo checking in from beautiful Denton, Texas. Ooh, I bet it's hot over there. I bet it is hot over there, which rolls in to our man Milton Hope, the voice of Cotton Bowl Speedway. Busy this past weekend. He'll be at it again on ODS night. We'll talk about that later on. That's coming up Saturday. Yes, I'm a little bit cooler. 109 that I talked about. Pretty damn warm.
Yeah, you looked a little cooked over there at the H&P Oval this past weekend.
Man, that's the whole thing. You know, I kind of tried to change it up a little bit and tried to wear a gray shirt, but it's like I need to start wearing lighter colored clothing. I mean, I think that's the biggest problem. I was hydrated better, but folks ask me because I sweat a lot. I mean, whether it be from biking or whatever the hell that I do. And it's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm totally fine. This is normal, but I've got to wear light. I've got to get lighter apparel. Because this dark stuff, it doesn't breathe very well. Like Shane Pretty's dark vehicles, black vehicles, they don't breathe very well.
Yeah, I know. When you get into the black truck and it says 110, that's when you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Leather seat. I don't know what I was thinking buying a truck with leather seats in Texas and in 110-degree heat in August. I don't know what I was thinking when I did that.
There's not really a time to, there's no way around it. I think it's whatever interior you have, man. And then when you grip the wheel, when you get in there and grab that steering wheel, it's like, damn, you need Nomax gloves, it seems like, to go to the damn HEB or something. Jason Foray checking in. Good to see him back on the track this past Saturday night over at HMP. And we talked to the one man that Johnny Torres didn't get ahead of. I mean, that really was a good run, as Matt Kaminsky checks in. Really, really a good run there for Johnny Torres. I mean, to see him, I don't think he had the biggest aspirations of success going over there. And I mean, a lot of that, I mean, Johnny's pretty humble dude. He's a pretty humble dude. We joke about the posts and all that. But when you go over there, I mean, this is a whole different animal that you're getting into right here. And for Johnny, I mean, just starting out, and it looked like it was going to be something pretty special. You got to be really, really damn happy for this dude.
Yeah, I mean, I really am. I think that he opened up a whole new group of fans for him, just because of the way that, the guys that down here, they know he's fast, but it's like when you run well up at Boot Hill and you run well at the King of the Hill, you got the masters of the class up there that win the King of the Hill race and win the bigger money races there at Boot Hill. And Johnny was running right there with him. Didn't quite had to run the B, but got on the, even if you got to run the B main, if you're on the pole of the B main, that still means you're doing all right. When you got to get to the B. So that, that turned out all right. But, Cameron Starr, another car, looked very strong, had a flat in one of the B mains, so he couldn't transfer over. So making South Texas proud. A couple of them guys that went up there and timed in and got into the, showed some South Texas prowess there with the King of the Hill with the guys up north.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I was thinking about, we were talking about Cotton Bowl racing last week and racing this week. As Rachel Plant checks in, she will be in that Powder Puff what I say, Showdown, Powder Puff Showdown. You will see her behind the wheel of the DCRST number 15 right there. So that'll be pretty cool to see right there as Rachel gets behind the wheel after a little bit of practice yesterday. Rachel, when the track is prepped, it's going to be even better. I don't think the track was prepped yesterday. Just wait till that's a whole different thing. And that's the thing about dirt, to where it's like, I say it all the time, to where it's like with asphalt, you have half an idea what you're going to be getting. But when you get in dirt, and it's happened to me so many different times, to where it's like, I go out and run the heat race and I'm like, shit, I'm going to win. My car is so good. I'm driving so well tonight. Ain't nobody going to beat me. And we come back to the feature and it's totally changed. The line that worked in the feature, because I don't know how to read dirt, I go out there and look like a complete ass. And that's where, when the track starts getting worked, that's the beauty of dirt track racing.
Yeah, it definitely changes. That's what when we talked to Titzman about it last week. He said, I like to go out at intermission and walk the track and try to read the track. And apparently he reads it good because he's been winning a lot. And so I guess that's what we got to learn as dirt trackers, is to try to go out and read the track. Not that it's going to do a lot of good, but we'll try to learn how to read the track.
I'd go out there, when I'd go to the track to race, and I'd go out there, and a lot of my buddies were, a lot of the fellow competitors were out there walking the track, and I'd see them standing over there ready to go out there. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go say hello to whoever. They're out there walking the track, and I'm just sitting. I thought, time to take a dip of snuff and go out there and just walk around and bullshit. And, it took me a little while to realize they were out there like preparing. And I'm sitting there with my head up my ass talking about trying to schedule guests for this program. And it's like they're actually doing something, and I'm out there looking like a complete ass. And it showed up in the performance most of the time. But hey, you keep learning. Chris, we will go more in depth with this a little bit later on. But it's really weird last Wednesday, turning on Race On, as it was. And it's like there's like a live race on. There is live action happening in Pleasanton that I think it was, I'd call it a success. I mean, I would say maybe the crowd, but hell, we can't fill them up on Saturday sometimes. You know what I mean? I liked it. It was really cool. It was really cool to watch from home. I could say that.
Yeah, it was the races turned out to be pretty good. The cars, the little lower car count than what I think people wanted to have there in the limited modifieds, but the guys that were there were top notch. So they brought in a really good field of limited modifieds and factory stock drivers to come in and win. Johnny was able to get his gas money by winning the limited modified feature, get his gas money to Boot Hill there on Wednesday night. So and then Maupin picking up another one. I talked to him in Houston when we were doing the race interviews. Talked to him after before we went on the record button, and he said that he got home at 1:00 in the morning. Turned on the lock on the key to get to his house at 1:00 in the morning. Said that alarm that comes on at 5:15 in the morning came on really, really early for him.
I can only imagine. And that was really one of the cool things that I asked him on track, because, when they're at Houston, I mean, I talk a lot about Jared, doing the both disciplines, and how he's been so good on dirt. And a lot of people, it's like, okay, whatever. But that was really cool that I'm like, this dude won a race in a factory stock on Wednesday night in Pleasanton, and now here he is on the asphalt because he won again in the Outlaw. And it's like, I mean, there you go. And we do have to give some kudos right there. I mean, a lot of kudos. Our man, Flying Ryan Colby from Mississippi. The same thing. I mean, a dirt late model guy that made the move over. He's done some pro late models, but we had him on last week, and we told him, you get in one of these pro modifieds, and that's the first thing I asked him when I went to talk to him. For one thing, he was beat ass tired. He said, "Man, I love the horsepower. These things are so great. I love the horsepower."
Yeah, I should have tried to grab him in the media center and try to do an interview with him, but I don't know. He probably would have been like, "I didn't win. I don't want to talk."
But he would have.
He'd have been a good one. Karen would have had fun with his video, trying to understand some Mississippi slang he had there. But that Johnny Walker interview is pretty good. I need to start sharing some of those on Facebook, the ones that Karen did yesterday. So they turned out good. They weren't as in depth as they could be because you can only ask the winners the same questions so many different ways. So we had to go to a couple of different side topics to make that stuff happen this week there at HMP. So,
Guys, like we said, it is Winners Monday. We're talking to the big winners of this weekend. Already Mark Underwood Jr., who is the brand new King of the Hill and Factory Stocks from Boot Hill Speedway. He's joined us. Coming up next, man, we had a massive one over at Rocket Raceway Park. You had the Junior Limited Nationals, and that youngster will rejoin us to walk us through that. But first, a word from our friends at On Demand Shirts.
Shirts and OnDemandShirts.com. Custom apparel and promo products for every occasion. Birthday parties, reunions, company apparel, school events, fundraisers, and more. Much more than T-shirts. It is On Demand Shirts. Check them out for your hoodies, shirts, koozies, and so many different products. On Demand Shirts and OnDemandShirts.com. A leading innovator in apparel throughout the racing industry and in the state of Texas. On Demand Shirts. More than shirts. On Demand Shirts.
Up and get you all the apparel that you need. They're more than shirts. They're on-demand shirts. The official apparel providers of Bobby and I, right here on the Revved Up Sports Show. Really, really good folks. Check them out at OnDemandShirts.com. King of the Hill has already joined us. Then you go to Petty, and you had the Junior Limited Nationals. Man, Junior Limiteds, what a great way to learn some dirt track racing. And here's a guy rejoining us, this time on video, and it is a national champion, Junior Limited National Champion, our man, Kason Caps. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing well, my friend. I'll ask you the same thing that we asked the King of the Hill. Has it worn off yet that you won that massive event this weekend?
Not yet. I'm still walking around with a big head, but I'm just waiting for that to fade.
Love it. Love it.
So talk about the race, man. I mean, obviously a lot of pressure for everybody in there. To try to run well and do well and not end up being the one that causes a big one. But talk about it from your night, man. How did it go? It had to be a little easier than just running around in circles, right? Since you're running up front.
Yeah, in the heat race, going into the first turn, had a little contact, was held me back a little bit throughout the race, and then I was kind of being a little too cautious. And then when I saw the two to go, I was like, man, I got to do something here. I was just riding in four. So when I was going into three, I slid the second and third place car to get to second to lock me into the dash.
Yeah.
And then in the dash, I went from fourth to the lead and just kind of never looked back from there for the rest of the night.
So kind of talk about, for this, because there was extra money, that wound up into this. And that's always the good thing, to where a lot of folks, obviously Waco, we've talked about this, where Waco as well, a really good place for junior limited drivers and cars. You get a little extra money thrown in there, man. This was a really strong field of you guys out there.
Yeah, I think the final payoff for first ended up being like $900 or something, and had a really great race and a lot of cars to show up.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So what goes through your mind at a younger age like that? We talked to Underwood, who won the King of the Hill. 113 cars showed up, $10,000 to win. Does it the same type of feeling for y'all when you're racing? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter your age. You still get a little bit of butterflies and stuff like that. But talk about that race as a whole, your mindset going in. Was it just another race? You're like, oh man, this is the Junior Limited Nationals. This is, I got to win this one.
Well, not really. Coming from 16th last year really helped me out with my mindset a lot this year. I wasn't as nervous as I should be. So it just kind of made it just another race for me.
So with that, I think that's the biggest thing, where that's one of the things you got to learn as you're a young driver, to where you get to a big race like that. Because I'll tell you, Kason, in my times of racing when I was younger, I would mentally beat myself up, and I'd go out there and look like horse shit sometimes. That's really the thing, where you got to be in that right frame of mind for a bigger race like this, because it really is. You got to keep your composure. You got to hit your marks. You got to do everything that you've learned to do.
Yeah, hitting my marks and just staying calm is a big thing, because if I really don't win, my dad's gonna be pretty mad at me. So just had to win.
Fear. It was fear that got him that win.
Yes, sir.
That's nice.
I guess it could be worse. So talk about racing with your dad. Obviously, you said your dad get mad. Probably your number one fan, though, just to try to get you motivated to pick up the W. Talk about racing with your dad and your family.
Yeah, my dad's my number one fan. He's always there to keep me going and help me work on the car. If I have a bad night, he won't always be mad at me, but he'll be like, here's what you got to do to get better for the next time.
Mm-hmm. So, Kason, your thoughts? We were talking about a bigger event right here for the Junior Limiteds, like we talked about before. I mean, I truly love this concept. Kind of from the last time we talked to you to now, really liked the progress of this class, man. So many great drivers like yourself are being developed because you're learning in just a great atmosphere for newer drivers to learn how to race these things.
Yeah, coming from last year to this year, everybody's gotten a lot faster and a lot better and more smooth. A big thing that I had to work on is just being smooth, because smooth is going to be fast for this class.
Mm-hmm. I bet.
So talk about the racetrack this weekend. Obviously, they do a little bit extra prep when they have a little bigger race. But talk about racing up at Rocket. Is that your home track, or is Waco your home track?
No, I race at Hunt County and Rocket for points. Those are basically my two home tracks.
Awesome. So, so the rest of the year now that this one is done, is there another? I don't think there's another big event or event like this. What's on the docket for you guys? Going to do some traveling? Any chance that you may modify it and go to limited or sport mod, whichever before the end of the year?
I think not this weekend, but the next weekend we're gonna run the Brian Mize Memorial in the Eco mods, and then I think we're gonna run the Eco Nationals November 1st and November 2nd.
Love it. Love it.
So you talk about modifying it and running some of the bigger stuff. What's on tap for you now? Obviously, got a couple of seasons here in the Junior Limited. I mean, what in your mind? And your dad has a lot of input too. What's the next step for you? Is it just converting it over and running into a limited mod? You maybe want to switch over to a factory stock. What's that next step for you as you develop as your racing career rolls on?
Well, there's been a lot of talk just running out the rest of the year in Ecos. Then maybe next year, my dad and my crew chief wants me to run maybe a B mod or a late model, or maybe just race a sport mod.
Nice. So with the car that you have now, because I know the intent is with a Junior Limited, with a B mod, whatever, to where it's like you have a car and then you modify it and go to sport mod. Is that something that you plan to do with this car? If you're gonna do sport mod, you're looking to do something else with a different car, or kind of what's the very early thoughts, and not holding you to it? We're not going to be like, Kason, you lied to us, damn it.
Well, I think if we're gonna race Eco mod, all we need to do is change the carburetor. But if we run sport mod, we need to change the motor and carburetor. But if we run the B mod or a late model, we just got to buy a whole new car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, talk about those B mods. We got to watch a little bit of the B mod racing there after the King of the Hill. It's a unique car that I think it's going to catch on. I hope it doesn't put the limited mods out of business by running some of those, that little bit bigger chassis, like the big full blown outlaw mods and stuff. But talk about the B mod aspect of it. I mean, is that class going to continue to grow? Is it a flash in the pan? People kind of just not wanting to run something different than a sport mod. Talk about that B mod class. I mean, what do you think is going to happen with that long term?
I think the B mod is going to get bigger and bigger as it goes on. With Hunt County running and Rocket Raceway Park running the B mod and the limiteds together, and then I think it might be 10,000 win at Waco for the Mod Wars.
Yeah, that's definitely going in the right direction. So we got to ask you. Let's talk about Landon. Landon had the third place this week in the factory stock. So kind of touch on what's going on with him. Looking pretty solid right there as well.
Yeah, he's always pretty solid, especially in the sport mod. Last year I think he had 12 wins, and he wanted to try something a little different this year with the factory stock and the modified, and he's been running pretty good in those.
Awesome.
So talk about you as you guys. Roddy and I remember that when we were younger, we had friends, but not a lot of our friends raced, right? Are you able to kind of make buddies with some of the guys you race with now? Is that a different mindset for some of you younger guys versus when it was like when Roddy and I were trying to run up and racing like that?
Well, I've some like three pretty good buddies. Dylan Blackburn, Dusty Lee Jr., and Ryder Egbert. Those are pretty much my buddies in racing, and I hang out with them a lot. And I have my friends outside of racing too, but I think the ones I race with are the best ones I got.
Yeah, and one of our Waco youngsters, a really good wheelman himself, that was there with you guys, Mason Warren, checking in, ready to see you there at Mod Wars. So really cool there. Got to ask you. So I was kind of looking back as I messaged you yesterday, looking back at the conversation from last year. Man, it's football time. Football for you, or have you said forget that shit? I'm going racing.
I said forget it. It's too hot outside.
Dude, tell me about it. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, and our coaches they want to practice till 6:30 in the day, from 3:30 to 6:30. I'm like, screw that.
Oh man, yeah, no, that ain't happening. That ain't happening.
What position did you play when you were playing football? Receiver?
Yeah, I was a receiver and a cornerback.
Nice. Yeah, very, very smart man. Dusty Lee Jr. checks in. Wheelman right there. Yeah, absolutely. Taking home the big win. Glad you got big money for that, man. That's really cool. And I think it's definitely a great step in the right direction right there for the Junior Limiteds. My friend, thank you for doing this once again. This time we get to see you. I know last time it was via the phone. Always welcome anytime, man. You got a big race coming up. Shoot me a message and we will do this again, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Take care. Be well, buddy.
You too.
You bet. There he goes. Mason caps on your winner, or Kason caps on your winners Monday. I was thinking Mason Warren and Kason caps. Really cool. Really cool that they had a good, strong field. I saw that they did like they do at the Derby and all the different places. They did like a class picture and all that. And I really like the progression of the Junior Limiteds, man. I think it's I know we have B mods and all the different things, but I like what the Junior Limiteds do.
Well, you know my take. I'm more of an eco mod than a Junior Limited guy, but I totally get the Junior Limited class. Not that I have anything against it,
Right.
but I think the classes that the tracks and areas that have invested in the Junior Limited class have actually solved a problem that a lot of tracks have, and it's where do we get the next generation of racers from? You know, and obviously they're coming in the pipeline from that Junior Limited, because you kind of weed out the ones that are like, maybe this isn't for me, or it's too much work, or dad made me do it and I don't like it, kind of deal. So I think that you get a lot of that with the Junior Limited. You find out the next core group of racers and who they're going to be. Like I said, got some Edbergs in there. You got Mason Warren in there. That are the next. They're going to be the next big things when they come in and start running. The next class in the ecosystem. So I think that's what we've noticed, is that the tracks that have invested there in the Junior Limiteds have been able to come through and have that next generation start popping out and doing big things.
Yeah, and I love what you said right there, because it really is. I mean, the ones in a Junior Limited, that they are very much invested, because like we were talking about right there with him, it's the progression is set up to where you have this car and then you take it to the next class. I mean, to the limited modified or the sport mod, whatever it's called, wherever you are, and that really is the thing right there, to where it's. I mean, you just mile this thing down. I mean, you're tuning it down, and I think a lot of. That these guys would have to tell us, guys and ladies, that is it an older car? Is it an old limited modified that you've bought and downgraded? And that's probably what's happened. And it really is to where you're doing it to this extent. Because you have, I mean, I know that I've watched, Cogburn and some of these guys at Waco that have made that move, and they're immediately good. And you see the things that they learned. I mean, yes, they have racing families and parents that race or have raced, and so they're taught a lot of that. But it is, I mean, I know, just like we've talked about here at Heart of Texas with the classes and teaching them, and you see a lot of improvement. I mean, our man Chris and Danielle, I mean, their son Colton, when he jumped behind the wheel, I mean, it was one of those things. You had the little Colton, little guy, I see him and I'm like, okay, he wants to be like his dad. Let's see if he really likes this. He loves racing, but is it really going to be for him? Now he's in the front of the pack, and that's what this thing is designed to do.
Well, I think it does. It makes you know ahead of time. A lot of it, and what we've noticed is that the parents that come from the racing background with the next generation kiddos that are racing, they put those kids to work. Yeah. They say you're going to work on it, and you don't have a lot of the arrive and drive kids in the Junior Limiteds. like you do in some of these other classes. Like they make you work on it and make you work hard for it. So I think it does. I think it weeds out the ones that are just doing the try to be the flash in the pan, be like, oh, this is easy, I can make this work, I'm great. And then they kind of fizzle out. I mean, it's better to do it in a junior limited than try to go up and try to do it in a full size, late model or something like that. And then you just don't have the experience level and end up wrecking half the field.
And I am curious because I know for a lot of years when I was younger, because it was one of the things that people that knew our family, that knew my dad, it was like, that was Dad's hobby, that was Dad's passion. He loved racing, and I was always right there with him. And I think maybe some of the interpretation was that it was just I was there with him because he was my dad, or I didn't have nowhere to go, or there was nowhere for me to stay, if he was going to be doing the racing thing. And there were people that would ask, is this something that you're doing? Like, once I got more involved, it's like, is this something that you're doing because you feel like you owe it to your dad? Which I think I do owe it to my dad, because he gave me the gift of the sport at a very young age. But it was one of those things where do you feel the pressure to do it, I think is what people would ask. And one person actually asked me, are you trying to please your dad doing this? And I'm like, I'll please my dad doing this if I'm doing well. And I think that with the families that have raced, you see that. I mean, they are so bought into it. And the best thing about these divisions is you like you said, you are bringing the next generation. That's why I always say stars of tomorrow, because these are the ones. These are the ones that carry this thing forward when we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, too bad we need some stars of tomorrows with some of these announcers.
Yeah,
next generation is a little hard to find on our side of the world. So
I got to tell you, Bobby, I was, when my ass was out there sweating like a what in church on Saturday, I'm like, where's the next generation of racer or of announcer? I see all these kids running around, and I'm like, they're not even sweating. I'm like, you do this, and they're talking away, chat. I'm like, here, can you do this? I want to go sit in the AC. Hell, it was hot up there too.
Yeah, it's hot up there too. That's the best thing about that new digs there in Texana. Is it's the announcing portion right there in the middle is the coldest section of the new tower.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look who's checking in right here. It's our friend, Sexy Joy Shepherd, checking in with us on a Monday right here with hashtag Real Race Talk. Mason Warren, I had to look at this twice. I thought it said Mason Warren is a greedy young driver. That's because I don't have my glasses on. But he is definitely a great young driver and not greedy at all. Very, very good young dude right there. Good conversation right there. We had both ends of the spectrum right there. You had the veteran that goes out and wins a big show, and you have a guy that could be at some point I don't know what, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th annual King of the Hill champion.
Yeah, if they try to run that way. Looks like he's going to lean more towards big mods and late models. So, but we'll see. I mean, that's the factory stocks is going to be. It's always been its own unique animal. And like Mark said, if you end up having that $30,000 to win, it's like, I mean, we're going to see even more guys try to run a factory stock and get used to it.
Yeah. Hey, Tanya Remore pops in. I like this. Making them learn the car and changes made will only make them a better driver, because they'll understand what it's doing and so forth to react to it. That's the whole thing, because it really is where I talk to a lot of guys, and we know a lot of people, and it's like they have folks driving for them, and this is across the country. I'm not just talking about here. I talk to a lot of racing veterans and folks that work on cars, or their car chiefs or crew chiefs or whatever, or just a member of a pit crew, for crying out loud. And it's like, we had a young driver this week that, we asked him, what's the car doing? And it's like, the guy says, I just can't drive it. I just can't get it around the track. And I think that's where it's so important for that hands-on thing, to where, like, you go in and it's like, I lit off the gas and it's pushing like a dump truck going up the hill, and I can't get back in the throttle, or the back end's breaking loose. I mean, the car's not rotating. The pivot is not right. I want to dime in the corner, but I can't. I mean, those kind of things. I'm late in the throttle, getting out of the turn. When you have these young kids that understand that stuff and can tell these guys, man, you're only helping yourself once you learn some of that stuff, some of the geometry stuff. I know the cars are different. I know you can do a lot of different things with them, but man, that geometry, getting it into the corner, getting it to set down, getting it to sit and squat that side down and get out of the turn. I don't care if it's pavement or dirt. If you learn that geometry stuff, man, you are setting yourself up for success.
Just think how many people sat through a geometry class in high school and said, I'm never going to use this in the real world.
and yeah, you know, I still have, I mean, down there on my shelf, I've got a Steve Smith auto sports book to where it's solely about geometry. And I go back and I look at it, and it's very old school, probably from back in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, a lot of that stuff, I still look at it because it's all drawn. You know, it's got this chassis that's sitting there, and it's got all these arrows pointed different directions and percentages and all this stuff. I still don't understand that shit. But what I did really try to learn, and this is, I think, what the young guys are starting to learn, is you learn what crossweight is, because that really affects you trying to turn. You learn crossweight, you learn stagger, you learn how important those things, tire pressure, learn all that kind of stuff. And it's going to help you. It's going to help you go faster and be better.
You didn't go to any of those Nick Holt chassis schools?
Man, I never did. And, you know, I want to ask him. I want to ask him for the, I'm sure he has still the notes for that, but I have been told that was one of the best things that you could have invested in. I remember that when I was young. It's like, what? $99? The bad part about it for me was because you had to drive I think one year he did them in Kyle, and that would have been better, but I couldn't have done it at that time. But man, I'd love for him to redo that. God, does he need to redo that?
Yeah, bring him out of retirement, have him do one special one. I'm sure he'll be at the San Antonio Race Reunion to talk about it.
We got to get him to do one. Get him to do a Revved Up Sports Show geometry class, pay-per-view. Nick Holt suspension class. It can be a pay-per-view. He can do it here. We can live stream him on Zoom, wherever he's at there in San Antonio, and he can do it here, and he can make some extra. Man, that's
not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea, because I know on our Zoom, I mean, we can have, I mean, hundreds of people set up on that. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Man, I bet Professor Nick would be like, we're doing what? With what? On what?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Good stuff right there. Good conversations there with those guys. Let's check in with more of this. We got Alabama. Get to that in just a second. I wish I could join in on a live chat and give some input as a spectator, crew member, helper. I'll tell you what, let me put my glasses on here so I can see. Lane, you can type away right there, man. If you want to, because that's what we do a lot on the show. If you're new to the show, one thing that we do on here is we do bitch and complain a lot. And we do give a lot of kudos. To fan experience, to promoter experience, to drivers. That's why we call it real race talk. And we've been doing this so long that folks know when they get on here, they may hear something they don't like, but they're going to come back and they're going to give us their input, and we're going to talk about it. I mean, if you say we suck, we're going to acknowledge it and be like, okay, we appreciate the opinion. Expand on it. Why are we bad? But at the same time, we do like good feedback, especially when it comes to racetracks, because they don't hear that enough, Bobby. That's kind of the knock that we get. And I hope, Lane, that's one thing that you would give as a spectator feedback, is that tracks don't get enough love for when they do things right.
Yeah, it's silent when it's right, but it's always loud when it's wrong.
Yes, indeed. Alabama. Boy, we're doing good. We're kind of broadening the horizons tonight. See what happens when the King of the Hill and the Junior Limited Nationals winners come on Monday, right here on Winners Monday.
Well, it happened.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Tell you one other thing that happens as football season is here and racing season goes on. We talk about streaming and watching all this stuff at home. I got a buddy down here in Round Rock named Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. He's one of our, he sponsors my studio, and he can set you up with a really cool sound system wherever you are. TVs, Sonos sound systems, all these different things, arcade games. I've got 2 arcade games downstairs at my house that I play frequently that he set up in my place. A word from my friend at Audiovisual Consultations. It's Tom McKay.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. Do you have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
So if it's something that you're interested in having a really cool system, I'll post pictures. You go to avconsultations.com, look at his gallery right there. If you got a business, restaurant, whatever, they'll come outfit you, and your customers will love it. Quick update. It is Bernie 4 and Florida 1. So Bernie looking good right now. They trailed starting out, but now they're ahead. Go Bernie. Bobby, Cotton Bowl Speedway doing it again right here. A couple of our partners, Cotton Bowl Speedway and On Demand Shirts. I think this is one that you might possibly make it out to. You mentioned the STEM series will be on hand as well. Cotton Bowl right here, $1,000 to win for Sport Mods. This is looking like it's going to be yet another great show at HE and Marianne Nauman's Speed Palace that is Cotton Bowl Speedway.
Yeah, if you hadn't been to a Stims race there at Cotton Bowl, they put on one well of a show there. And so it'll be fun, especially with the Sport Mod showing up, 1,000 to win. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And of course, the thing about it is right there, as we said, with on-demand shirts. So they are the apparel provider right there of CBS, also of the South Texas Race Ranch, of the H&P Oval. Obviously, like we said, Bobby and I with Revved Up, and lots of drivers here throughout the Texas area, and even Jake Tim moving a little further out. So it's going to be a big night right there at Cotton Bowl. And the thing about it is, I've got to applaud Cotton Bowl once again. I'll applaud Cotton Bowl on the fact that, you and I were kind of joking back and forth to where it's like, you've got this big King of the Hill, and you've got their Boot Hill, and you had a lot of racetracks that it was like, okay, let's let the factory stocks off. Marianne and them, they were like, we don't have that problem. We'll run factory stocks and we'll have a full damn slate of them. And they did once again. I mean, that place continues to amaze me with their car count.
And it's every class. It's not just factory stocks. It's all of them. They're all pretty healthy there with that. But we'll see. With the way that Stims race ended last time, I think there's a lot of guys looking for a lot of redemption this time around at the Stims race. So I think it's going to be one well of a show.
I ran into a guy at the end of the show the other night at Houston that was talking about the guy's very accomplished motorsports guy. I mean, he's working there for Celadon for the media company, the photographers and such. And he was, we started talking, and he was just into nuts and bolts of racing. So it's one of those guys that kind of captured me talking about stuff. And he goes, I got a question for you. Where are you from? We started talking, and he goes, you ever heard of a place called the Cotton Bowl? And I said, yeah, man, it's right up my way. And he said, I've heard a lot of good things about that place. One of the nicer facilities. I need to try to get a free time and check it out. So I think they'll find a new customer. The fan experience there is really one of the best that you're going to find anywhere around here.
Yeah, it's definitely top notch. Food's really good. Sometimes you got to wait just a tick to get it, but that's when you know the food's good. When you got to wait just that tick to get it. But what do they got? I got snow cones and all kind of. There was a coffee trailer there one time when I went over there, but I actually indulged in the shaved ice snow cone. That was rather refreshing when it was pretty hot the last time I was out there.
Nice. So Lane kind of expanding right here a little bit on what he was talking about. So the guy I help, it's crazy. We have the car set in dog mode, then we change it up. Yeah, absolutely. The younger drivers come over and talk to the guy, and I think kind of just what he's saying right here is where, when you're a younger driver like that, talking about, junior limiteds and the younger crowd, it's like, it doesn't take you very long to get to the, especially if you're a fan, if you were a fan turned racer, or, whatever the case is, you figure out who the people are that you can go to and that you can trust that are going to help you. And it doesn't take long to figure that part out. And it's really cool that those more accomplished veteran folks will help the kids, to where it's more like, I think if I was, I am in my early 50s, I would be much more apt to want to help a youngster than if they make the effort. And I think that's a lot of times where it lacks with some of the youngsters these days, is that they don't want to learn that. But the ones that do, hell yeah, you're going to help them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and those are the guys that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Those are the ones that you really want to have come through and like help you. They're more willing to help you because if your stuff is not running up to par and they try to pass you or whatever, they need the help to, hey, look, this is what you did wrong. Why don't you try to set up this, set up that? Because what's good for you is good for me in the long run, so that you don't end up tearing up my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, that really is one of the things. I mean, I know when I really got into full-time racing, I was in my mid-20s by the time that finally all put itself together. And it was one of those things to where, the veteran drivers would come to me, because when I started, Bobby, I was always in the front, because starting out, I was horrible. And so you put the low point average people in the front back in those days. And I'd get up there and screw up and spin out and take half the field out. And it got to the point, eventually where some of those guys would come over and it's like, hey, it was never a problem with the car. It was a problem with me. And it was like, hey, maybe you ought to try this, behind you. I think their first thought was, behind you, I'm shitting my pants because I know you're going to fuck up. But it's like, maybe you ought to do this. And that's the beauty of this sport, is that you do have that, where folks will come help you, even if it's to help themselves sometimes.
Well, that's like it is. It's an all around thing. You'll see you used to see it more back in the old days.
Yes.
You still see it nowadays, but it's more like everybody has their own. It's like I have my former racer turned crew chief fix it, and it's not. I ain't giving you no speed secrets. I ain't helping you out. Get somebody else to help you. Used to see it more back in the day. You see it now a little bit. Maybe it just sneaks under the radar now, where they're like, hey, here kid, check this out, do this and this, but don't tell anybody I told you.
Yeah. Now it's like with some of these, if we want to call them more veteran guys, not quite in my age range, but whatever. It's like, well, if I get one of those guys in front of me, I'll just hit him. I'll just hit him in the left rear and try to make damn sure that he spins that way, is what I'll do. That'll be my help to him. I'll help him get out of the way, is what we see now. All the time.
Every class. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a technique. Let me hit him in the left rear and make sure he spins down and takes out everyone behind me, and I can continue going, because you learn how to do that as well, apparently, because we see that quite often.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're teaching the essence of a bump and run, and but that's, I don't know. We'll get into that. Then you can hear our take about bump and runs and all that on the archives. All of them available on revvedupsportshow.com. You can go back and watch the YouTube videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we get a free chance to free pub on the YouTube channel. Kings of self-promotion there. So if you want to know our take about bump and runs and all that, check out the replay and stuff from last week.
Todd, never been to a track that runs junior limiteds, 6-hour drive from my house. Eco limit. Yeah, that's a whole thing. It's a very I don't know. We talk about Rocket and we talk about the different places, like we were talking there with Kason. It's like there's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of junior limited. But the thing is, where the junior limiteds I think work well here is that they have them like in hubs. If you're going to do something, you do it in a place where there's a good reach, and that class really has fallen into racetracks to where the business is good. And with the eco mods, there's just a lot of modifieds. There's a lot of modifieds. But I think a lot of times I keep predicting doom and gloom, to where it's like with stock cars and all that, but shit, everywhere I look, Bobby, there are plenty of all of them. So, and I'm not saying I want them to have doom and gloom, but damn, keep proving me wrong. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, speaking of e-mods, they're definitely going to have, I think, race number 2 down at our friends at I-37 this upcoming weekend. Right. Chris Workman has all the details about that, working out some big stuff. Looks like it's going to be a pretty good big payday for the e-mods. So they've got some big stuff happening. There's a lot of stuff happening at I-37 this weekend. So
yeah, no doubt about it. I'm going to go back here and try to find Chris's comment right there that he made early on in the show. And Dink actually posted something there that I want to touch on as well. That Wednesday night show, we talked about that with the guest announcers. I got to tell you, it's really cool to see over the weekend that we see that Ricky Ware Jr. Will be taking the mic or taking some of the mic time right there at I-37 Speedway. I mean, that in and of itself right there is a great draw, where you bring in that Ware family with their great rich history of not only my two passions. This is why I love the Ware family. It's my two passions, racing and radio, not necessarily in that order. The Ware family has done that, and Ricky Jr. is going to take the mic, and he'll be talking about cars going 900 miles per hour around that racetrack.
You can also hear the Ricky Ware Jr. Post interview on this show in the archives too. Just check out the archives. There's all kind of cool stuff on the archives.
Yeah, really, really good stuff right there. Really, really good stuff. But
multiple NASCAR Hall of Famers, multiple track champions, multiple racing legends from all over the country, not just here in Texas. All kind of cool stuff in the archive.
That's right. 37 doing a really good job, and they are on the track, as Bobby mentioned, this Saturday there with their next event coming up. Like we said, you've got Cotton Bowl, you've got 105, pretty stacked dirt schedule that we're going to be watching this weekend. Dink, who checks in with us quite often, thank you for joining our little racing family right here in the motorcycle dirt. I tell you, this could be something. Our man Lawrence Mikulacek, message me, and I will get you Lawrence Mikulacek's information because he actually does something very similar out at his L87 Speedway. I don't know. I think probably what we're looking for here would be more of something with South Texas Race Ranch or something like that, or 37 or El Cotton Bowl. But yeah, that would be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind seeing that right there.
That could be a lot of fun. Got the potential to be a lot of fun anyway.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So, shoot me a message and we'll get you some information on that. So talking about all the big dirt stuff going on, there it is right there. Ask and you shall receive $600 to win for the E-Mods. And I think
that's good money for them.
That's really good. I think you ought to get a healthy dose from the South Texas Race Ranch because there are tons and tons of those over in the Corpus Christi area. So that's kind of the dirt track conversation. Got to talk about pavement, man. This weekend, you get the old Pensacola Friday, you get the Mobile on Saturday, you get the old double there along the Gulf Coast, man. That's, God bless, man. I wish that's two events that I wish I could make.
Yeah, the doubleheader. Now that Mobile's back up and running, that's a lot of fun. I wish I could go myself, but work commitments has me kind of tied up here. It's a race I wanted to go to because I know we're going to know so many guys that are doing it. We're going to know a couple of guys that are pulling the double. Maybe not so much in a modified or a late model, but a lot of guys pulling the double down there. So it'll be a lot of fun. That Pensacola race, those mods, and that Mod of Mayhem race in Pensacola on Friday night is going to be a barn burner.
Man, it certainly is going to be. The Modifieds of Mayhem really heating up at this point. And speaking of modifieds, we talked about, we mentioned Jared, of course, Jared with a solid run. It was really cool to see him and Colby racing right there together, a couple of dirt track aces. Got to give a lot of love to Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker with that new mount that he has, and talk with him privately about some different things. And just kind of from some of the stuff that he told me, very obvious the changes that have been made right there. And it's, we talk about with the veteran drivers having to adapt to some of the changes that especially on asphalt that have happened here in the recent future or in the recent past. And Johnny Walker, one of those dudes that has not wanted to do that. I mean, Johnny has his book, the way that he's done it, and it's always worked. Johnny Walker kind of going over to make some changes that you really wouldn't see Johnny Walker do. And some bitch, Hoss, that thing was flying.
He was in a pretty good mood in the media center too. We'll get that interview posted up and probably get it posted up on our YouTube channel, so you can check out the interview from the H&P Oval, their post race there in the media center.
Yeah, and it really was. Very, very nice drive for him. And talking to Kenneth Canales afterwards as well. By the way, thank you, Canales, for the T-shirt. I will wear it proudly, my friend. It's got one of my own numbers on it, a 7, so it will obviously look really good on me. But Canales was like, I had nothing for him. He was like, hey, Kenneth Canales told me after the race, he said, I hit the fence 3 times trying to catch his ass. Well, he didn't say ass. He's a very polite young man. But it was like, Johnny was on a rail. Very good.
He was in his own zip code for sure.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, South Texas will get behind Jared Maupin, and I think they're really going to be behind him when we get a little bit further in the year, for some of the stuff that he's going to be doing. So that's really going to be, the Pro Late Model is going to be really fun to watch, because both of those races at Pensacola on Friday and then Mobile are part of the Rogers Depth Chevrolet Late Model Challenge. So those points, it's selected events at those two tracks, at Montgomery and I believe at Nashville, where some of those it's like the like what they do at CBS. It's like the Summer Showdown
series.
Yeah. So, and I think it's minimum 1,500 for the championship, and it's continued to add up. And on top of that, on Saturday, it's the Lee Fields Memorial that's being pulled into that as well for the Pro Late Model. So that's going to be some really good. Pro Late Models kind of get forgotten, especially now with modifieds really doing cool stuff. But I think that's going to be. I just like the back-to-back. They're not that far apart. I mean, they're not that far apart. I don't like driving back and forth, but I mean, 75 miles at most. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, a little over an hour, roughly, depending on traffic on the bridge. But
yep, a couple of big old half miles, and then of course on Sunday, what's throughout the weekend. But as you check in right here, if you're checking in on X on Racing America, of course you can catch the 51st annual Oxford 250. And there is again one of those crown jewels, and that coverage I think starts on Thursday, where you have events that are going to be taking you all the way through. But when you go there to the Oxford 250, that's another one of those. If you haven't experienced that one, even streaming it, really, really great event to be a part of.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff happened at Oxford. A couple of big names that you wouldn't expect to be at Oxford are going to show up at Oxford. So,
absolutely. So to NASCAR, we talked a little bit about Austin Dillon and all that on last week. So you had the race today. Tyler Reddick wins. It looked like towards the end that he was going to be the one to beat. And then, you had a double overtime and had all of this. And now I think the question that we're going to have coming out of this, I don't know if you've gone back and watched it, but just be ready, because the question now is going to be, you had all of that shit last week, but now it's going to be, now the yellow flag questioning is coming out, because you had a couple of similar events to where one time the yellow flag, I don't even think it came out. And then the second time, very similar event, kind of situational type thing, boom, yellow flag. That probably helped determine a little bit at the end of the race. So I think that's going to be the talking point moving forward.
Well, the big talking point has always been the inconsistency of NASCAR. That's the only thing consistent about NASCAR, is the inconsistency at which they do things. So sometimes they're quick to throw a caution, other times they're not. People complain either way, though. Like that time they didn't let him. They let him race to the green there after Priest hit the fence, and they're like, "Well, you're letting Priest sit there. It should have gone yellow." But then if they go yellow too early, everybody's like, "Why'd they go yellow so early?" So they're still kind of, NASCAR's usually in a no-win situation, regardless of what they do. Half the people are going to like it, half the people are going to bitch about it. So I think that's the same way just with racing as a whole. But I think that it definitely becomes a unique scenario where it's like, well, if they do this, I'm pissed. If they do this, I'm pissed. And it's like, get over it. Just watch it and enjoy it.
And it's really hard, because the way to avoid some of these controversies when it comes to overtime, and whether it be what we saw last week and these with the yellow flags and all that, I mean, the alternative is let them finish under caution. And this is why these rules change, is because people didn't want that. But hell, Indy will still finish under caution. So that kind of gives you that point. And of course, we had a couple of years ago where that was a big deal. But what I would like to see, and I know that it is very much a safety thing now, is to where, and I don't mean that in a smart ass way, is to where you drop a yellow flag, let them race back to the line. I mean, because a lot of times the accident happens behind the leaders, or if the leaders pile up, and if you have the big one, you have the big one. I mean, it's going to happen. But man, if they could race back to the line still like they used to do. I know that's not the most safety intuitive thing to be doing right now, but I think that would help a lot of things. Let them let's say you're going to finish under caution. You've got 3 laps to go. You have a wreck on the back straightaway. It's going to finish under caution. Let them race back around to that caution. Boom, there's your winner. I think that would fix a lot of things.
It might, but I still think you're going to get people upset about the safety aspect of it. So
I know. it's the consistency thing is, and that's where we go back to with the local tracks, to where it's, man, you got to be consistent. But with short tracks, you give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're, with NASCAR, this is what they do. This is their livelihood. I mean, they're, with scoring loops and all the different things that they have and officials that they have, this is all they do. A lot of times when you have folks at a short track that are out there making calls, or, it's like, here's what I saw, it's like they've watched racing for a long time, and it's not a skilled professional. They don't do it for a living. So with short track racing at a local track, weekly thing, you kind of give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, a little bit. But you got the guys that kind of, there are some guys that will, we talked to Terry Barden there in the post-race show there at H&P. He said that it's a community effort.
Yeah.
To try to get it right, but yet his call is the one that this is the final decision, but he takes into consideration more than one opinion before he makes his final decision. So NASCAR's kind of that same way to a certain extent, but it's not like it was back in the day at Big Bill Sr. and Big Bill Jr. Where they don't rule. NASCAR still rules with an iron fist, but it is not as heavy of a hand as it once was.
Yeah, because that can be one of those things to where, back in those days, it's like you ask, and this is still very much the case. I don't care what level you're at. I mean, something happens, you ask 4 people, what'd you see? You're probably going to get 2 to 3 different versions of what actually happened. So that's where it gets so hard with the human element. That's why I say with baseball, when people talk about, let's do an automated umpire, I'm like, bullshit. I mean, keep the human aspect in. It's hard, but that's going to be what the NASCAR talking stuff is going to be this week. Obviously, now I guess we go to Daytona, and that's a Saturday night thing, talking about what's coming up this weekend. I mean, I think that's good viewing if you're not going to be in a short track thing, because the playoff, I mean, here's where somebody can come in and shake this thing up. I mean, this is for Austin Dillon that we talked about, a great opportunity for him. I think it happens here before it happens at Darlington for Austin Dillon. This is Kyle Busch. 2 things. I mean, you keep that winning a race for 20 straight years, and then boom, get yourself in the playoffs. I mean, here's a great chance for Kyle Busch, and they're showing a lot of speed right now. Oh, got you. so that's something that we'll watch to see if Kyle Busch can do that this weekend, because I think when it comes to going to Darlington and when it comes to going to the Lady in Black, I mean, I wouldn't. The Lady in Black is kind of one of those races that's a little bit of a kind of a toss up, but I think who the favorites are going to be in that one. To where with Daytona, this is where Ricky Stenhouse, whoever, they can come in and really throw a monkey wrench into this playoff thing.
And I think they really can. I think that's why they make Daytona there towards the end. I liked it better as the regular season finale, but I get scheduling wise why they had to do it. That's why the championship playoff this year is a little different with tracks in there that shouldn't be normally, or I guess it shouldn't be there, but aren't normally in there. But yeah, I think that if you can't have the regular season finale at Daytona, I think having the regular season finale at Darlington's just as good.
Yeah. I mean, that's 2 really good places to finish this thing up. I mean, I like that. It actually, even Michigan, kind of being right there in the stretch run, because Michigan's been around for a long time. So really cool to have that because that track as well, we've seen a lot of times where it's fuel mileage, and it was almost fuel mileage today, the way that was working out. But really good to see that. Before we get out of here, Bobby, obviously we got to talk about, man, what a loss on Friday. I think it was, man, when you lose Bloomer, that I posted somewhere, I don't remember where I put it, but I mean, for dirt track folks, I mean, that's a lot of the equivalent of when Cup fans lost Dale Earnhardt. I mean, that's one of your staples right there. That's badasses, man. What a shock that was to wake up to the other morning.
Yeah, total shock. I mean, in terms of like a guy that had he was a needle mover for sure before people realized what a needle mover was in the world of dirt over there. Winning all those races, Habit Tampa back in the day when it was, he was just lights out, just smoking their ass up until today, with Team Zero, trying to get their stuff in order and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely when you lose an icon of the sport in any level, with drag racing, circle track, dirt track, asphalt, whatever it is. Anytime you lose an icon, it leaves a super big hole to fill, and it's going to be a hot minute for somebody can fill that gap left by Scott Bloomquist.
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, I know you've got a lot of really, really great dirt drivers at the moment. I mean, there's a list right there of folks that could take that mantle at some point, but like you said, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a little bit. And the thing about it is, I mean, the outpouring that you've watched, not only from race fans, but I mean, hell, Reddick today, Tyler Reddick today was talking about how that was an idol, and we've seen pictures of Tyler Reddick with him. I mean, remember, Tyler Reddick's a dirt track guy, so the roots right there for him. But when you lose someone like that, it kind of shakes up a lot of different things. And I saw some folks, with it happened in a plane, but you know what? I mean, I know he'd had some health things and so forth, but you know what? The guy lived his life to the fullest every damn day. And if he'd have passed in a race car, I think for him, that would have been, I went doing what I love the most. I got to tell you, flying those vintage airplanes there of his family, right there in the mix with racing for him.
Yeah, those that like to fly, it's a feeling that they only get in a race car, but some of them get it even more so there in the airplane because you're just one with nature there, flying around and stuff like that. So that that can be addicting too.
Yeah, it's that adrenaline rush. It's that you're in control. I mean, it's very much that you're in control. I mean, I had for a long time, I had a very bad fear of flying, something that I had to get over eventually. And it very much was where I wasn't in control. It's like, I can't, if I'm going to have an accident, I want to be the one driving, or in this case, flying, or if you're on a boat or whatever that speaking of boat, to finish off Bloomquist right here, that it really is. It's a very sad loss, and there's going to be a lot of people that the good thing is the outpouring, the support for the family continues to happen, as it should, because he is very much an American racing legend. I don't give a shit if it's dirt, pavement, motocross, drag racing, whatever it is. It's American racing legend right there.
Yeah, no, I mean that's true. That's the one way to think about him. Icon and legend is the two words that popped up when I thought about it on Friday morning.
Absolutely. Why I made the boat reference right there. Our man Rusty Young, where if you want to see something with Rusty Young, Google or on YouTube, check out Rusty Young boat crash or Rusty Young boat wreck. Look that up if you want to see a man that has lots of big balls. Is Rusty Young. Rusty Young flying off the handle on Saturday night over at the HMP. He man, I've never seen that side of that dude before.
Yeah, a little upset, a little hot underneath that collar.
A little worked up. I mean, that happened, and I was thinking of all the Rusty Young's very much a prankster, a smart ass. I say that in a very admiring way because Rusty Young always has a comment for stuff, and funny stuff. Very, very dry humor sometimes, Rusty Young, but that was a competitor side to where. It proved to me that at some point everyone reaches their level of pissed offness, and we saw that. We saw that from our man behind the 88 legend.
Yeah, speaking of people that'll be pissed off, did you see they officially announced that we already knew was going to happen with the Clash?
Yeah,
taking the Clash to Bowman Gray. That's actually my birthday, so I joked with the wife. Said, "Hey, why don't we go to Winston-Salem, North Carolina for a birthday trip?" She says, "I don't think so, Scooter." Not happening.
And I've seen a lot of people to where it's like, oh man, well, they're having it there, but it ain't gonna be like the Madhouse. No, it ain't.
It won't. I hope not.
No, I totally hope it's not. I mean, those guys don't do that. I mean, last week what we saw was very much pushing the envelope right there for what you see on the cup thing. I mean, I think it's going to be great racing. So is this smaller than the Coliseum? I think it's a little bit smaller than the Coliseum. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a little smaller because they have a racetrack instead of like an actual like track and field track in there.
Yeah. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be. I mean, look for the folks that want to. And I was talking to someone over the weekend where it's like, well, NASCAR had an agenda. No shit. NASCAR always has an agenda. They're not going to go purchase something for the fuck of it. I mean, yeah,
they didn't take over the lease for Bowman Gray for absolutely no reason at all.
Right. And the whole thing is, it's like, this is where, I mean, you can't please anybody to where it's like, we don't want them racing at a man-made, Coliseum or whatever. Okay. Well, how about something that's somewhat of the equivalent, that actually is also man-made, somewhat of the equivalent. How about we race them there, but has a lot of history and nostalgia and lore to it? No, I don't like that either.
Take it back to Daytona. Pole winners only. 5 cars. Yeah.
Can't help you. Yeah. Well, that's the other argument. It should go back to Daytona. I'm like, you didn't watch it then. Are you going to watch it now? I'm sure a lot of people would watch it the first time. And then when they pile everybody up coming out of the turn 4 and cars get destroyed, oh, what is this?
They wouldn't do that on a short track.
That's right. You need to take them back to a short track. Take them to Pensacola. If Myrtle Beach was still around, it'd be a great place for this. Well, Myrtle Beach ain't there. Myrtle Beach is gone. These tracks are gone. Take them to Wilkesboro. Oh, we tried that. That didn't work either. Well, it's a car. It's the car, which I can understand that a little bit. This car's not designed for this. But anyway, yeah, Bowman Gray it is, and I'm sure the schedule will be coming out very, very soon. Everything that I'm seeing here for us with COTA looking like very early March.
It's still rainy season, but yeah. Hit or miss.
Yeah, I've seen March 2nd thrown around a couple of different times, and then for TMS, I've seen kind of the usual, second weekend, third weekend in April. So a little bit of back-to-back right there.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, let him run in COTA on Texas Independence Day. That'd be kind of fun.
There you go.
Give him a Texas history lesson with NASCAR coming to town.
Oh man, yeah. If it is March 2nd, I can't go because that's my puppy's birthday. I'll have to watch that from home because we have a party every year for the puppy. She gets a Whataburger with fries. She's got it made. She eats better than I do. They both eat all the time. They eat that really good dog food. Have you switched over to that dog food that you have to prepare and chop up, and it's like meat, organic? Your dog,
the refrigerated kind? No. I just got that big dog that eats nonstop. So we're just with like the blue buffalo is like fine dining for that dog. It's like $75 a bag, and he goes through about 2 bags a month.
Yeah. These two, and I ain't gonna lie to you. One time I was chopping that stuff up, and a lot of times when I'm chopping up stuff, I'll like take a little nibble. I did try that stuff one time, and it's not that bad. And I mentioned when I went to get it from the pet store, I said, hey, I actually tried this one time by mistake and it's not bad. And the girl told me, she said, well, I mean, it's human food. She said, heat that shit up and it's very consumable. I don't know if it'll get that tough around here. I don't think you need to be stealing food from the dog. I'll go to the beer cooler. So Bobby, got to tell you, next Monday. So I've actually, and I am not shitting when I say this, I have to go to Vegas Wednesday. I've got to work. I actually have to work in Vegas Wednesday through Friday, and I'll be back Saturday. But when I get back Saturday, so it'll be, get back. Fortunately, I don't have any obligations to work at racetracks or anything. So it'll be an off weekend when it comes to that, but we'll be doing, following up on stuff. Sunday, I have to prepare for a procedure Monday afternoon. That is one of those to where you have to drink a lot of this liquid. So we'll be in touch. I don't know have you done that?
Yeah. The prep work is the part that sucks the most.
So it's not so bad afterwards?
Yeah, you'll never know. You won't even have a clue. Once they wake you up, you won't even know anybody's been back there.
Well, that's what I was talking to a dude over the weekend, and I was telling him this, and he said the same thing, and I'm like, well, I'm not worried about feeling violated or anything back there. It's like, how do I feel? Am I still going to have to be going to the potty and doing all these different things? Am I going to want to puke or any of that stuff? So
the prep work sucks. Because I had to do pills and liquid. Now they got everybody going back to just the regular liquid stuff, and it's designed to clean you out, and it does. So you probably pretty much count on not doing a show because all you're going to want to do is go home and sleep. So,
damn. Well, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to clean me out. You know it better than anybody. You've walked into some of those destruction areas afterwards. So this could be we'll figure something out. we'll figure something out. So maybe we'll have a Tuesday. I don't know. We'll plan on Monday, and then we'll kind of take it from that point, depending on what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Great show tonight. Mark Underwood Jr., $10,000. And again, Boot Hill, everyone that works on that, 113 race cars, factory stocks. Very, very impressive. You just gotta look back at it and just be impressed. And a very streamlined show. I mean, on top of that, I know when you came over with your device where you were watching that, and I sarcastically said, so what are we doing now? We're still in the heat races, and you were like, no, man, they're doing driver intros. I'm like, damn, okay. Very, very productive. And there you go, $10,000 winner.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good show. I mean, it ended about 12:30, 12:15, 12:30. But when you have that many cars and that much alphabet soup, you can expect that to be kind of a longer show. But it definitely ran earlier than what it has in the past. So it was a good show. Really good race. Had a couple of cautions, a little extracurricular activity here and there, with some guys going at it. But it was a hell of a show. So obviously they keep doing it year after year, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. So they're doing something right over there at in Louisiana.
And I got to say, I mean, for the parody part of it, don't mind seeing a different guy win. Honestly, when you get into big shows like that, big races like that, I hope a different guy wins. I mean, I saw these different polls to where it's like, who's going to win? And it's, the 4 or 5 guys that you expect, as it should be. And they were all contenders. But, when somebody else wins, let the other guys play too. I like that.
That's why they call it a race, and it's not run on paper. It's run on the racetrack.
That's right. Kason Caps also checking back in with us as he wins the Junior Limited Nationals. So, like we said, Night of Champions right here once again on a Monday on the Revved Up Sports Show. Rest of the week for you, my man. I laid out my, into the middle to the end of the part of the week. It's going to be great. Not looking forward to Sunday, but that's my schedule. What you got?
Not a whole lot. Be hanging out at the office next couple of days. Probably going to go to Cotton Bowl on Saturday to check out our friends with ODS and our friends at Stems. Hadn't been there in a while, so may end up going to go see my dad this weekend too, probably on Sunday. So lots of stuff going on. Just trying to stay caught up in the dog days of summer.
That's right. Going to be hot. It's going to be the hottest month or hottest week of the year so far, at least down here, is what they're telling us. So hydrate. That shit actually helps. It really does help. So hope you guys enjoyed the program. We'll do it again next Monday. Be sure and check the socials just in case I can't get a cork in there and stop some of that whatever that might be going on. But we'll do it again next Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central, or 6:30 p.m. Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. # Real Race Talk. It is the Revved Up Sports Show. You guys have a great rest of the week. Be safe in everything that you do. And Bobby, this is the show that what?
The show that started it all.
And we'll do it again next week. You guys have a great rest of the week. We'll chat with you soon. Be well, everybody.